The group chat had been going for 3 days. Whitmore Family Thanksgiving Planning, it was called, though it should have been called, Everyone Tells Sophia She's Not Good Enough. I scrolled through the messages on my phone while sitting in my studio apartment in Brooklyn. The apartment was real. A rent-controlled studio I'd kept specifically because it was convenient and because it maintained the illusion I wanted my family to have. Dad, *, we should do Thanksgiving at our place again this year. The Connecticut house has plenty of room. *. Mom, *, perfect. I'll start planning the menu. Traditional everything. *. Brother, Tyler. * sounds good. Emma and I will bring wine. The expensive stuff this time. *. Sister, Vanessa. *. Can I invite Marcus? We've been dating for 3 months. *. Mom, *. Of course, darling. The more the merrier. *. Then yesterday Mom had texted. * Sophia, why don't you offer to host Thanksgiving this year? It would be good practice for you. *. I'd stared at that message for a long moment before typing. * Sure, I could host. My place is small but we could make it work. *. The response had been immediate. Dad, *, we can't do Thanksgiving at your place. You live in a studio. *. Tyler, *, yeah, we need real space. Where would we even sit? *. Vanessa, no offense, Soph, but your apartment barely fits you. Mom, *, maybe next year when you get a real job. Then you can afford a proper home. *. Tyler, *, true. What do you even do again? Consulting, *. Dad, *, property consulting, she says. Which as far as I can tell means she looks at apartments she can't afford. *. Vanessa, brutal but fair. I'd read those messages and felt the familiar sting. Then I'd done what I always did, I'd let it go. I'd learned a long time ago that trying to defend myself only made things worse. I didn't respond to the group chat. Instead, I texted my estate manager, Philip Thornton. *Me. Family Thanksgiving is at my parents' place in Connecticut tomorrow. I'll need you to call me at exactly 3 p.m. Have the Christmas property discussion ready. *. Philip, the full list? Me. Everything. Make it detailed. *. Philip. This should be interesting. See you tomorrow, Ms. Whitmore. I set my phone down and looked around my studio apartment. 450 square feet of deliberately modest living. A Murphy bed, a small kitchen, second-hand furniture I'd bought on Craigslist. The only expensive thing in the entire apartment was the view, 16th floor facing the Manhattan skyline. My family thought I lived here because I couldn't afford anything better. The truth was more complicated. 5 years ago, I'd graduated from NYU with a degree in real estate development and exactly $847 in my bank account. My parents had paid for my education but made it clear that was where their support ended. I needed to make my own way and learn the value of hard work. So I did. I got a job with a small property management company making $35,000 a year. I worked 80-hour weeks. I learned everything I could about real estate acquisition, property valuation, renovation financing, and market analysis. And I saved every penny I didn't absolutely need to survive. After 2 years, I had $50,000 saved. I used it as a down payment on a foreclosed brownstone in a neighborhood everyone said was up and coming. I spent 6 months renovating it myself, learning plumbing, electrical work, carpentry. I sold it 14 months later for $340,000 profit. I took that money and bought 2 more properties. Then 4. Then 10. My family had no idea. They saw the studio apartment and the second-hand furniture and assumed I was struggling. They never asked about my work, so I never told them. When they made jokes about my consulting, I just smiled and changed the subject. 5 years later, at 31 years old, I owned a real estate portfolio worth $287 million. I had 7 residential properties across the country, not investments but homes I actually owned and used. The Hamptons Estate, the Aspen Lodge, the penthouse in Miami, the ranch in Montana, the cottage in Napa Valley, the loft in downtown Manhattan, and yes, the studio in Brooklyn. I also owned 47 investment properties, 3 commercial buildings, and a luxury property management company that handled high-net-worth clients' real estate portfolios. But to my family, I was still Sophia who looked at apartments she couldn't afford. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and gray. I dressed carefully. Jeans from Gap, a sweater from Old Navy, boots I'd had for 6 years. I packed the wine I was supposed to bring, a $25 bottle from Trader Joe's, because anything more expensive would raise questions, and drove my 12-year-old Subaru to Connecticut. My parents' house was impressive by normal standards. A 4-bedroom colonial in a nice neighborhood, maybe worth $1.2 million. My father, Richard Whitmore, had done well as a corporate attorney. Not spectacularly well, but well enough to afford the house and the country club membership and the annual trip to the Caribbean. He'd built a comfortable life. And he'd spent my entire childhood reminding me that comfort came from playing it safe, following the rules and choosing a sensible career path. Real estate speculation, he told me repeatedly, was for gamblers and fools. I pulled into the driveway at 1 p.m. Tyler's Range Rover was already there, along with Vanessa's BMW. Through the windows I could see people moving around in the kitchen. I grabbed the wine in my purse and headed inside. Sophia. Mom appeared in the foyer, wearing an apron over her Eileen Fisher cashmere. You're here. Did you have trouble finding parking on your street? I imagine Thanksgiving makes it even worse in Brooklyn. It was fine, I said, handing her the wine. She looked at the bottle and smiled in that way that wasn't really a smile. How thoughtful. We have plenty of wine already, but we can always use more for cooking. Translation. Your cheap wine isn't good enough to serve at dinner. Tyler appeared, glass of scotch in hand. Baby sister. How's the studio treating you? Still sleeping in the wall bed. Murphy bed, I corrected. And it's fine. I don't know how you do it, Vanessa said, emerging from the kitchen with a cheese plate. I couldn't live in anything smaller than our townhouse. Marcus was just saying how important space is for mental health. Marcus, the boyfriend I was meeting for the first time, nodded seriously. He worked in finance and had apparently strong opinions about real estate. Your sister's studio, Marcus said. What's the square footage? 450, I replied. He winced. That's compact. What's rent on something like that these days? Rent controlled, I said. I pay about $1,400. $1,400 for 450 square feet? He looked genuinely pained. Vanessa and I are paying $6,500 for our townhouse, but we have 2,200 square feet. The value proposition is so much better. Marcus works in private equity, Vanessa said proudly. He's brilliant with numbers. Dad joined us carrying his own scotch. Sophia, we were just discussing real estate. Marcus here is looking to buy an investment property. Maybe you could give him some of your consulting insights. The way he said consulting made it clear he thought it was make-believe. I'm happy to help, I said. What neighborhoods do you think are undervalued right now? Marcus asked. I'm looking at Brooklyn. Maybe Williamsburg. Williamsburg is already expensive, I said. If you want undervalued, look at the outer neighborhoods. Sunset Park, Crown Heights, parts of Flatbush. Good bones, improving infrastructure, 10-year appreciation potential. Marcus nodded, but I could tell he wasn't really listening. I'm thinking more established neighborhoods. Less risk. Less risk, less reward, I said simply. That's the gambler's mentality, Dad interjected. Marcus is being smart. Established neighborhoods, proven value. That's how you build real wealth. I didn't argue. I just excused myself to help in the kitchen. Mom had gone all out. A 20-pound turkey, 3 kinds of stuffing, sweet potatoes with marshmallows, green bean casserole, cranberry sauce, dinner rolls, 3 pies. The kitchen looked like a magazine spread. Can I help with anything? I asked. You can set the table, Mom said. The china is in the dining room hutch. The good china, the Wedgwood. I spent the next 20 minutes setting the table for 8. My parents, Tyler and his wife Emma, Vanessa and Marcus, myself and Uncle George who was driving in from Boston. At 2:45, everyone gathered in the living room for pre-dinner drinks. Dad put on football. Tyler and Marcus talked about the stock market. Emma and Vanessa discussed some charity gala they were planning to attend. I sat in the corner chair and checked my phone. 2:47 p.m. Sophia, put the phone away, Mom chided. It's Thanksgiving. Be present. Sorry, I said, but I kept the phone in my lap. At exactly 3 p.m. it rang. Philip Thornton's name appeared on the screen. I answered. Hello. Ms. Whitmore, good afternoon. I apologize for calling on Thanksgiving, but I need your decision on the Christmas properties. His voice was clear and professional, loud enough that Tyler glanced over. Of course, Philip, I said. What do you need? Who's Philip? Vanessa asked. I held up a finger. One moment. We need to know which of your 7 primary residences you'd like prepared for the Christmas holiday, Philip continued. Your staff at each property needs adequate time for seasonal preparations, and several require specific maintenance updates before occupancy. The room had gone quiet. Even the football was muted. I put the phone on speaker. Can you remind me of the options? I asked. Certainly, Ms. Whitmore. You have the Hamptons estate, which is fully winterized and ready for holiday occupancy. The property manager there mentioned the beach views would be spectacular this time of year. Then there's the Aspen Lodge. The ski season is just starting, and the slopes are in excellent condition. Your property there is ski in, ski out, as you know. Mom's wine glass slipped in her hand. Dad had gone completely still. Philip continued. The Miami penthouse offers warm weather if you prefer to escape winter entirely. The Montana ranch is currently hosting your horses, but we can arrange for the main house to be prepared. The Napa cottage is perfect for a quiet wine country retreat. The Manhattan loft gives you easy access to city holiday events. Or you could simply stay at your Brooklyn residence if you prefer the familiar. 7 properties? Tyler said faintly. Additionally, Philip went on, we need to discuss the Christmas staff schedules across all properties. You employ 47 people across the 7 residences: groundskeepers, housekeepers, property managers, chefs, security. HR is asking about holiday bonuses and time-off requests. 47 employees? Dad whispered. Philip, I said calmly, let's discuss this later. I'm with family right now. Of course. But Ms. Whitmore, one more urgent item. The Greenwich property you were considering. The seller has accepted your offer of $8.7 million. Congratulations. Should I proceed with the purchase contract? The room was so quiet I could hear the clock ticking in the hallway. Yes, I said. Proceed with the purchase. And Philip, have my accountant confirm that this keeps us under our $50 million real estate acquisition budget for the year. Will do. Happy Thanksgiving, Ms. Whitmore. Happy Thanksgiving, Philip. I ended the call and looked up. 7 faces stared at me in complete shock. Sophia, Mom finally managed. What was that? That was my estate manager, I said. Philip Thornton. He manages my residential properties. Your 7 properties, Tyler repeated slowly. You own 7 homes? Yes. But you live in a studio apartment, Vanessa said. In Brooklyn. We've seen it. I own a studio apartment in Brooklyn, I corrected. It's one of my 7 properties. It's convenient for work and maintains a low profile. Dad set down his scotch with a shaking hand. You own the Hamptons? And estate in the Hamptons. 6 acres, oceanfront, 8 bedrooms. I bought it 3 years ago for $12.3 million. It's probably worth $16 million now. Aspen? Marcus asked. His private equity brain was trying to process this. Ski out. 5 bedrooms. $9.5 million purchase price. The penthouse in Miami? Emma spoke for the first time. Top floor of the Azure building. 4,500 square feet. Panoramic ocean views. $7.2 million. I watched them try to do the math. How? Dad asked. How is this possible? You're a property consultant. You make what, $60,000 a year? I don't make a salary, I said. I own a real estate investment and property management company called Whitmore Holdings. Last year we did $47 million in revenue. My personal net worth is approximately $287 million. Silence. Mom started crying. Just tears running down her face silently. Tyler stood up, sat down, stood up again. This is insane. You let us think you were poor. I never said I was poor, I replied. You assumed. I just didn't correct you. Why? Vanessa demanded. Why would you do that? Because it was easier, I said honestly. Easier than listening to Dad tell me I was being reckless. Easier than having you all judge my choices or try to help me by explaining basic financial concepts. Easier than watching you treat me differently because of money instead of who I am. We wouldn't have, Mom started. Yes, you would have, I interrupted. You did it to Uncle George when his startup sold. You did it to Cousin Patricia when she married someone wealthy. You started treating them like ATMs instead of family. Dad flinched. I built something, I continued. I started with $50,000 and turned it into $287 million in 5 years. I did it through research, hard work, calculated risks, and a deep understanding of real estate markets. I did exactly what you told me not to do, Dad. I gambled. And I won. The brownstone, Dad said suddenly. 5 years ago. You said you were renting a room in a brownstone. I own the brownstone, I said. I bought it foreclosed, renovated it, and sold it. That was my first deal. You were 26, he whispered. Yes. Marcus cleared his throat. Ms. Whitmore, can I call you Ms. Whitmore? The advice you gave me earlier about Sunset Park and Crown Heights. That was professional expertise, I finished. Those neighborhoods have appreciated 42% and 38% respectively over the past 3 years. Williamsburg has appreciated 12%. But you thought I didn't know what I was talking about because I live in a studio apartment. He had the grace to look ashamed. Tyler was pacing now. The group chat. The things we said. God, Sophia, we were so cruel. You were honest, I said. You told me exactly what you thought of me. That's valuable information. What did the chat say? Emma asked quietly. Tyler pulled out his phone, his face going red as he scrolled. I said her apartment barely fits her. Dad said she looks at apartments she can't afford. Mom said maybe next year when she gets a real job. His voice broke. Oh God. It's fine, I said. It's not fine, Mom sobbed. We're horrible. We're horrible people. You're not horrible, I said, though I wasn't entirely sure I believed it. You're just limited in your perspective. Dad finally stood and walked over to me. For a moment I thought he might hug me. Instead he held out his hand. I owe you an apology, he said formally. A profound apology. You proved me wrong about everything. You're extraordinary, Sophia. I'm sorry it took this long for me to see it. I shook his hand. Thank you. Can I ask, Vanessa said hesitantly, what you're planning to do for Christmas? Since you have 7 houses to choose from. I considered this. I haven't decided yet. Maybe Aspen. I like skiing. Could we? She stopped, started again. Would you want company? For Christmas? All of us could come to Aspen. If you wanted. If you'd even want us thereafter. After you spent years making me feel small? I asked gently. He nodded, crying now too. I looked at them. My family. Flawed, judgmental, sometimes cruel. But also looking genuinely devastated. Genuinely sorry. I'll think about it, I said. But if you come to Aspen, there are rules. No comments about money. No asking me for investment advice unless you're actually going to listen. No treating me differently because you know the truth now. And absolutely no telling people what I'm worth. I maintain privacy for a reason. Deal, Tyler said immediately. Whatever you want. Mom stood up and crossed the room. She hugged me tightly and I could feel her shaking. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. And so ashamed of myself. The turkey's getting cold, I said because I didn't know how to respond to that. We moved to the dining room. The meal that had been planned for weeks now felt surreal. Everyone was too careful, too polite. Tyler kept staring at me like I was a stranger. Vanessa picked at her food. Marcus tried to make small talk about the weather and gave up. Halfway through dinner, Uncle George arrived, full of apologies for being late. Traffic was murder, he announced, helping himself to turkey. What did I miss? Sophia owns 7 houses and is worth $287 million, Tyler said flatly. Uncle George looked at me, then at Tyler, then back at me. Really? Really, I confirmed. Huh. He added stuffing to his plate. Good for you, Sophia. Pass the cranberry sauce. I laughed. Actually laughed. Thanks, Uncle George. Your dad said you'd never amount to anything in real estate, Uncle George said conversationally. Told me the same thing about my startup. We Whitmores are bad at predictions. More wine. After dinner, Dad asked to speak with me privately in his study. The study was exactly what you'd expect. Leather chairs, law books, a mahogany desk. The room where he'd told me I was making a mistake pursuing real estate. Where he'd explained that only fools gambled with property. I don't know where to begin, he said, closing the door. Sophia, I was wrong. About everything. Yes, I agreed. You were. Can you forgive me? I sat in one of the leather chairs. Dad, do you know what hurt the most? It wasn't that you doubted me. It was that you never asked. You never said, how's work going? Or, what are you working on? You just assumed I was failing and treated me accordingly. He sat heavily in his desk chair. I thought I was protecting you. Real estate is risky. I've seen people lose everything. I know it's risky. That's why I spent 2 years learning everything I could before I made my first investment. I didn't gamble blindly, Dad. I calculated, researched, and prepared. You did what I should have seen you were capable of, he said quietly. I underestimated you. It won't happen again. Won't it? I asked. Next time I do something you don't understand, will you assume I'm making a mistake? Or will you ask me to explain my thinking? He was quiet for a long moment. I'll try to do better. That's all I can promise. That's all I'm asking, I said. Back in the living room, Vanessa cornered me while others were clearing dishes. Can I ask you something? Professional question. Okay. Marcus and I were looking at investment properties. After what you said about Sunset Park, I did some research. You're right, the numbers are compelling. But Marcus wants to stay in established neighborhoods. He thinks I'm being naive. Are you asking my opinion as your sister or as a real estate investor? Both. I smiled. As your sister. Trust your instincts. You're smarter than Marcus gives you credit for. As an investor, Sunset Park is about to see major infrastructure improvements. Buy now, hold for 5 years, watch it appreciate. The risk is minimal if you buy right. Buy right. Below market value, good bones, rental income potential while you hold. I can send you my acquisition criteria checklist if you want. Her eyes lit up. Would you really? Sure. But Vanessa, promise me something. Don't invest to impress Marcus or anyone else. Invest because you believe in it. She hugged me suddenly. I'm sorry. For all of it. The chat, the comments, everything. I know, I said. Later, as I was getting ready to leave, Mom pulled me aside. Thanksgiving at your place next year? She asked tentatively. Whichever place you choose. Maybe, I said. Let's see how Christmas goes first. Aspen, she said. We'll be there. All of us. And Sophia? We'll do better. I promise. I drove back to Brooklyn as the sun was setting. The studio apartment welcomed me with its familiar smallness. I made tea and sat by the window looking out at the Manhattan skyline. My phone buzzed. The family group chat, which had been silent since Philip's call. Tyler, asterisk, I'm sorry, Sophia. For all of it. You deserved better from us. Asterisk. Vanessa, asterisk, so sorry, sophomore. You're incredible and we were blind. Asterisk. Mom, asterisk, we love you. We're proud of you. We should have said it every day. Asterisk. Dad, asterisk, my daughter, the real estate mogul. I'm sorry it took me so long to see you clearly, asterisk. I typed a response. Asterisk, apologies accepted. See you at Christmas. And someone please change the group chat name. Thanksgiving planning is outdated. Asterisk. Tyler, what should we call it? I smiled and typed. How about the Whitmore family, all members equal? Vanessa, perfect. I set down my phone and looked around my studio apartment. 450 square feet of deliberate choice. A strategy. Of proof that appearances aren't reality. Tomorrow I'd call Philip and tell him to prepare the Aspen Lodge for Christmas. I'd make sure there were enough bedrooms for everyone, enough supplies for a week-long stay. I'd give my family a chance to be better. But tonight I was content in my studio. As I was Sophia Whitmore. And I'd built an empire while everyone assumed I was barely surviving. The underestimation had been their mistake. My success was my truth. And I didn't need anyone's validation anymore. Though their apologies, genuine and devastated, were a start.